across the pond.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Across the Pond. I'm your host, Dr. Not As Evil. Today's topic, it's an unusual one. It's one that I've not seen much information on, to be honest, but it's starting to get a little bit of momentum going in the conspiracy kind of world. It's the planet Tiamat, or Tiamat. Now, when you try and search this up, there isn't a lot of information about it, but people do talk about it. It's supposedly the planet that was in the position between Mars and Jupiter, and its remains are the asteroid belt. That is a very, very brief description of what it actually is. Now, it is also thought to be the original home of our ancestors, because obviously they do say that human DNA holds parts of it that are not from this planet, that do not match up with any other creature on Earth, and they try to explain this away. Could the possibility be that we are refugees from the planet Tiamat? That is what I'm posing to you today. I'm going to be playing a couple of different videos today. The first one, it's going to try to explain to you where the moon came from. Now, this is semi-important to where we're going with this one. I'll play the clip for you. It's only about a minute, 2 minutes long. And then we'll see. We'll see after that.
Not long after it formed, our planet gained a companion.
So remember, this is the official line of how the Earth and the Moon were formed in the beginning of time.
But it wasn't the moon. It was another planet that formed in Earth's orbit. A sibling called Theia. It was roughly the size of Mars. A vast ball of rock and lava. Throughout their childhood, Earth and Theia lived in harmony. Until gravitational disturbances in the young solar system set the two planets on a collision course. In this moment, Earth's future hangs in the balance. Theia is obliterated as the impact melts both worlds.
Now, that is basically saying that this planet called Theia, in the very early dawn of time, hit the Earth. It wasn't a direct hit, it was a glancing blow, I think is what you would call it, and merged with the Earth. And the debris from that circled the Earth and then formed the Moon. Now, there is supposedly evidence that there is not a planet-sized something in the Earth. I've not researched into that one. That'll be for another episode. But there is something inside the Earth that they do say could be another planet. So the Theia theory does semi-hold up. Now, the issue with that is in my opinion, this is supposed to have been 13.8 billion years ago. Now, when they go back through recorded time, which obviously doesn't go back very far at all, the moon itself is only mentioned approximately 5,000 years ago. That's its first time it's mentioned in any text anywhere. Now, does that mean that the moon wasn't there before that time? There's also records of civilizations saying the moon suddenly appeared in the sky. I'm not sure if I can find out which, I don't know if it was the Native Americans or somebody like that, but they said that the moon was carried here and it appeared in the sky. So was the moon created at this point by Thea, or did the moon come here from somewhere else? Now that brings us on nicely to, if it was brought here from somewhere else, where was it brought from?
Across the pond.
Now this is all for entertainment purposes only, we'll say for now. But this is going into ifs, buts, maybes, that kind of thing. Is it possible that the Earth was already here and the moon was our ark from a planet that was destroyed by some kind of event? A catastrophic event, and we escaped on the moon and came here. And the moon is actually our ark that has stayed in orbit. Because don't forget, NASA do say the moon seems to be hollow and it rings like a bell when it's struck by something. And they haven't explained why. So if we travelled on the moon, where did we come from? Now this is where my theory comes in now. If you haven't heard of it, there is not much information about this out there, but there is theoretically a planet called Tiamat. Now Tiamat would have been positioned between Mars and Jupiter, which is the position of the asteroid belt. Now if a planet were to explode, be destroyed, it would leave debris. Now, is the asteroid belt the debris from our original home planet? And what could have destroyed it? There's many, many, many possibilities of it. But that opens us up to other theories. Now, they do say that Mars wasn't a planet originally, it was a moon. It was potentially a moon of another planet. Could it have been the moon of Tiamat? I don't know if you've heard of you must have heard of Billy Carlson. I'm going to be playing the interview in a minute and we're going to be discussing it as we go through it. He theorizes, he says that Mars on one side is charred on one side of it and the other side is smooth. Now we do know that they do say Mars had an atmosphere, it had oceans, it was a green planet. Yet something happened that tore off its atmosphere and it's now a barren rock. Could it have been a moon of Tiamat? And the scorched side was the side that was facing Tiamat at the time, and it was pushed out of orbit into its new orbit by a global catastrophe when Tiamat was destroyed. That is a mind-boggling theory. Mind-boggling. Let me play the interview and we'll see what you think. Also, this will bring us on to another planet which I only have heard about in the past few weeks, called Ceres. Now, the potential of this is massive, of this planet. I'll start the interview and we'll go through it and we'll discuss it as we go.
Scientists just discovered something interesting. I've never talked about that on the podcast, and you guys can look this up. So our Milky Way galaxy is pretty interesting because it's absorbing another galaxy at the...
He's starting off just by saying how we are currently two galaxies absorbing each other. This is the start of the interview, so just listen to what he says about this.
This exact moment, called the Sagittarius dwarf galaxy. Not the Sagittarius constellation, that's something totally different. We are absorbing the Sagittarius dwarf galaxy at this exact moment. People thought for all these decades, looking, or even hundreds of years, looking up in the night sky, seeing that swath of stars going across, oh, that's the Milky Way. Guess what? We've been wrong the whole time. This is now being taught in universities in astrophysics. So what we're looking at, you're looking at the absorption or the merging of the Sagittarius with the Milky Way galaxy. And the exact point where it merges and drops into the Milky Way is right where our solar system is located, which would explain the rogue planets that we know that are out there. There's millions of rogue planets that have no sun, that are just floating free around. There's planets and solar systems that are orbiting far beyond the orbit of Pluto in our inner Oort cloud, admitted by astronomers now, that there's other solar systems within this inner Oort cloud area orbiting our sun every 4,200 years. So all of a sudden, that's Corey Powell.
Now listen to what he said there. There are other stars and solar systems orbiting our sun. Every, did you say 4,200 years? That's 4,200 years. Now we all know the theory of Nibiru and how that comes around every so many thousand years. Could that potentially be what he's talking about here?
Astronomer at Discovery magazine, by the way, who said that. So this is pretty interesting. We're talking about the fact that our solar system itself is an implant into the Milky Way, that we come from Sagittarius. We're not even part of the Milky Way galaxy.
Whoa. Okay. So when they're looking at our own solar system, they have an understanding that there's a thing called the Kuiper Belt. It's out there, and there's so many objects in there that are small, and that's one of the reasons why they decided to declassify Pluto as a planet, because there's other objects real similar in size.
Maki and all those other planets.
But they think there's something large out there. They think there's something large out there that they haven't yet identified because of the way that gravity is responding. Like, what is the reason for it?
Well, what happens is they discovered that in some way, millions of years ago, something moved through our solar system and captured its own weird orbit around our sun. And what's crazy is the evidence is in our solar system. So Saturn and Neptune switch locations because of a gravitational field. Uranus is flipped on its side and orbits, its equator is orbiting north and south, not east and west. And they know that...
Like it got hit.
Like it got hit, or something gravitationally just tugged at it so hard that it flipped sideways.
It never stops.
Never stopped. And it moved through our solar system way out beyond the orbit of Pluto, and this thing captured its own orbit. This is in the Enuma Elish and the Seven Tablets of Creation. This exact process that's been described now by astrophysicists and astronomers is in ancient text that we...
So in ancient times, this was the story of creation, of how everything was created in the solar system. And it's now being proven by astrophysicists that this is what has happened. Some kind of giant object moved through our system and messed it up, spun it up.
We can read and we can see, oh my God, this is exactly what this text is saying. It's talking about the creation of our solar system. It even talks about the creation of Earth in that text. So it says that when Marduk, a.k.a. Nibiru, a moon of Nibiru, crashed into Tiamat, it broke into pieces and became the hammered bracelet. That's the asteroid belt. One giant chunk swung away, recoalesced with everything, water, land, and organic material needed for life, and became the Earth, tugging with it the moon. So it's pretty crazy that the creation of this planet itself, and it says that it pushed, the net force pushed Mercury closer to the sun and pushed Venus closer to the sun, and then we took the third spot in place around our orbit around our sun. And then, of course, we have Mars, which used to be a moon, a habitable moon of Tiamat, a planet that was 4 to 6 times larger than Earth, and it slung into this crazy orbit. That's why Mars has this weird orbit, and you have to rendezvous with it if you're NASA or anybody trying to rendezvous with Mars every 2 years when it's in apogee or perigee. You have to, apogee or perigee, one of them is further away than the other. One is 80 million miles and the other one's closer. So if you rendezvous every 2 years, you can capture the orbit of Mars and you can actually get there in 4 months. And then they looked at it and said, wow, they meaning astrophysicists, this looks like this Mars wasn't originally in this type of orbit. It must have been orbiting something else in our solar system, which it was. One side is charred black and the other side is smooth. So the side where Tiamat exploded, those chunks hit Mars on one side, created a very charged side, and the other side is the smoothest surface in the solar system, which is because of the global flood that created. And then Mars's axis on its equator is tilted 45 degrees on its axis, which means the mass shifted it down 45 degrees. They had a major global catastrophe there.
Now, who knew that Mars itself had a charred side? I did not have a clue. Not the foggiest. Not a clue. It's got a charred side and a smooth side. It's just crazy. It's crazy.
On Mars. And then after Mars, you have another little planet that survived called Ceres.
Now, this is where he gets into Ceres. This is what I want to go into a little bit more.
Ceres, which is also a result of this Tiamat exploding. People don't even talk about Ceres. It has the most fresh water of any other planet in our solar system. More
and
fresh water.
Where's its location?
That's the next planet after Mars, Ceres.
Really?
Ceres.
How big is it?
It's
like Pluto-sized?
It's about maybe 2/3 smaller than Mars. And guess
it's a
what?
Dwarf planet. So they don't. It follows an orbit between Mars and Jupiter near the middle of the asteroid belt with an orbital period. Click on that, Jamie.
When they flew by it,
you heard about this before? I didn't know there was another planet out there.
See, neither did I. Never heard of this ever. And I've been into the planets and everything for years, since I was born, nearly 50 years. I've never heard of Ceres, ever. Ever, ever, ever. And where it actually is in the asteroid belt, that's crazy. And the size of it, it's moon size. It's 2/3 the size of Mars. Now, if they are saying that Mars was a moon of Tiamat, could Ceres have been a moon of Tiamat as well? The potential is humongous.
Listen, when they flew by it a few years ago, the lights were on. They sent a probe out there.
What?
The lights were on. And so they tried to say it was ice particles glistening in the sunlight. So when they got to the dark side, guess what? The lights were on the dark side. So they couldn't use the ice particle explanation anymore. So they just said, we don't know what it is.
What? Ceres' small size means that even at its brightest, it's too dim to be seen by the naked eye, except under extremely dark skies. Its apparent magnitude ranges from 6.7 to 9.3, peaking in opposition when it's closest to Earth. Once every 15 to 16.
So just listen to what he said there. They found lights on Ceres, and they said it was the sun reflecting off high quantities of salt particles. That's taken off NASA's website. High quantities of salt were reflecting the sun. When they passed it again on the dark side, the lights were still on. Now, if you know basic science, to have a reflection, you need light. No light, no reflection. So what are these lights on Ceres? What are they? It also has water. What is water needed for? Life.
Month in, how do you say that word? Synodic?
I don't know where you're at now.
16th month synodic period. Do you know?
Oh, yeah, synodic. Yeah.
Synodic period. As a result,
synodic.
Synodic. As a result, its surface features are barely visible even with the most powerful telescopes, and little was known about it until the robotic NASA spacecraft Dawn approached Ceres for its orbital mission in 2015.
Mm-hmm. And we have high-resolution images of the surface. There are strange things there as well, which is pretty crazy. So,
what are the images of the surface?
You have to go to nasa.gov and go to the Dawn images, and you can download, or sometimes the European Space Agency has them as well, ES. And then you can grab those images. It's pretty crazy. Some things just don't look right there. But
like
there's
what,
a lot.
What doesn't look right?
Well, if you look at Mohenjo-Daro or areas of Egypt, that's, or even, Iraq, where it used to be Sumeria, structures that used to be there that are now worn down and weathered, they have similar looks there, similar things that they look similar there. Not saying that they are. I'm just saying that they look strange. Some things look strange.
We have a lot of strange things on Earth that are natural.
That's true. We should.
He's showing pictures on there now, and what you're seeing is craters with lights in. And they are bright lights. You're also seeing the structures he's talking about look similar to pyramids. And also these craters that are there seem to be perfectly round. Now, would an asteroid impact make a perfectly round crater? Or would a surface explosion create a crater that is perfectly round?
Sure do. We even have octagons and straight lines on Earth that are natural as well.
What that showed there was straight lines. Obviously, straight lines and things very rare in nature, extremely rare. But its orbit, where it is, its position, it seems to point to it being a moon of something else. If so, what was it a moon of? And also, what was Mars a moon of? What he's saying there is Nibiru, planet X, came through our solar system. Now, they do say there is another big, gigantic object somewhere out there, because they can tell by the gravitational pull of it. It's so far out, it could be on the other side of the sun and we can't see it, or it's just so far out we don't know where it is. Just think how immense it must be and how big and gigantic it must actually be to still be having a gravitational effect on our solar system when it's not in visual range. And to be able to flip two planets' positions in the solar system, to be able to turn one to destroy potentially the planet Tiamat. It's potential there that Nibiru came through the civilization that was on Tiamat at the time, knew it was coming because they must have been advanced, and they put plans into place to escape. Now, where would be the easiest places to escape to? Obviously, Earth. Earth was formed, it was there, and escaping here would explain why our DNA is different to anything else on this planet. Just imagine that. We are not from Earth, we are from Tiamat, and Nibiru destroyed Tiamat. But also think of this. Are there survivors on Ceres? And that's what these lights are. Those lights are our ancestors still alive on Ceres. Go on to nasa.gov and have a look at the pictures. For all we know, there could be an underground civilization. But there are like bluey kind of lights on the surface, and they cannot explain them. They do not know where they came from or what's causing them, and I'm not buying the salt reflection theory. I don't believe they found, obviously, space telescopes aren't the greatest thing, and they're still in their early years. I know they've been going for like 20, 30 years, but they're still in early years. But I don't think they found a solar system similar to ours anywhere. So the forming of our solar system, are we a hybrid of two different solar systems that merged together? There was a system already here of a number of planets, and then Nibiru's system came through as the Sagittarius and Milky Way galaxies were merging together, and we have captured some of their planets into ours. Or Nibiru was already here, and we came through from Sagittarius, and it captured us into its orbit. Just have a think of that. Think of the potential and the possibility of the story of creation, the dawn of time, where we came from, why are we different to everything else? Because that brings you on to evolution. I don't want to dive too deeply into evolution. But they say the birds evolved from dinosaurs, but they also say the dinosaurs went extinct by the asteroid that hit this planet. If we evolved from chimpanzees and apes, why are there still apes? Because I was under the impression that evolution didn't change a couple of you, it changed everybody over time. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, please tell me. Come and tell me on our Facebook page. Search us under Across the Pond on Facebook. Come and discuss this with me, because this is a fascinating topic. I'm also on TikTok. If you go on TikTok, look for Dr. Not As Evil, DrNotasevil. I've got lots of content on there. We could deep dive into Nibiru, but that, you could talk about that for hours and hours and hours. If you're listening to this and you've liked the episode, don't forget, give us a 5-star review, follow us, share us, get the word out there. This podcast is your podcast. It's not my podcast, it's yours, and I want you to be involved. Head over to Facebook, search Across the Pond, find us on there, like us on there, talk to us on there. Let's get the discussions in the open. Let's talk about everything, and let's open our minds to new possibilities, new theories, without any hostility. If you don't believe this, it's not a problem. You believe your own theories. A theory is just a theory. It's somebody's thinking of how something is. You will have your own theory. Come and tell me what it is. Let's discuss it. You might change my mind. I hope you do. But head on over. So thanks for listening for this. So the key points you need to Google if you want to know more information on this is have a look for Tiamat. Tiamat is potentially the planet that the asteroid belt are the remains of. And have a look for Ceres. Ceres is fascinating, and I'd never heard of it until a couple of months ago. So thanks for listening. Like I say, like, follow, share as usual, and we will see you on our next episode. Peace out, everybody.